Hello everybody and welcome to WEBfactory Tutorials. Here we are at the last part of our journey where our Silverlight custom control will help us build our first smart editor custom control. This is the last part of our tutorial, so get your coffee close and let's get started. This is how our smart editor custom control will look like. You can see it right over here in the custom control category of the toolbox. And just as we have configured in Silverlight, we have the format property and the signal name property, and we also have under the appearance category the background, the foreground, and the border brush and border thickness. Nothing different from the Silverlight version we built up to this point. The functionality is just the same, but this time in Smart Editor and not in Expression Blend. Well, to achieve this, we need to create a new control library project, this time in WPF and not in Silverlight. And following the Model View Model structure, we will implement the code required by Smart Editor. Here we are in Microsoft Visual Studio. Here we'll have to prepare our WPF custom control library. So I'm gonna select File, New Project. I'm gonna select Windows over here and WF Custom Control Library. And I'm gonna name it just like it is. I'm gonna delete the one at the end and I'm gonna press OK. So this is our control library in WPF. So we can close the custom control 1 CS and even delete it because we don't need it anymore. And the next thing we need to do is make the references. So I'm gonna click Add Reference and I'm gonna browse my C drive in Program Files, WEBfactory Smart Editor, and from this folder I'm gonna take all the DLLs that I have to reference to our project. So we're gonna begin with the Microsoft Practices DLLs. So the first one we need is the Prism DLL. The second one would be the Prism Interactivity, the Unity Extensions, and the Unity. We will also need the Microsoft Practices Service Location. So this is the first batch of DLLs we will need to reference. The second batch will be the WF Common DLLs and the WF Common Presentation DLLs. So we're gonna select those two and we're gonna head to the WF Smart Editor DLLs, and from here we're gonna select the Smart Editor Domain DLL, the Infrastructure, the Infrastructure Interfaces, the Infrastructure Presentation, and the WF Smart Editor Modules Design and Modules Design Control. So these are the DLLs that we need to reference to our project. I'm gonna click OK now and I'll see you after the DLLs are loaded in our project. Okay, we're back and we have our DLLs referenced, and we have to do a couple of more things before going on. And the next thing would be changing the target framework of our project. So I'm gonna click Properties on the project, and on the target framework drop-down menu I'm gonna select .NET Framework 4. I'm gonna confirm it, and this is all. And the last thing we need to do to configure our solution is to create 3 folders. And our folders will be the Views folder, the View Models folder, and the Serializers folder. Now, these folders are not compulsory, but it is a good practice to organize your solution the best way possible. So we're gonna use these folders to place our classes inside. So now our solution is prepared. We're gonna continue with creating the Control ViewModel. So to create the view model, we will need to select the View Models folder and right-click on it and add a new class. And this class will be called Signal Value Output View Model. Just like this. Now, the first thing we need to do to this class is replace the usings. And I'm gonna replace these usings with the one that will make use of our references over here. Now that we have our usings, we're gonna change the visibility of our class to public, and we're gonna make it inherit the common control view model. We're gonna have to create a constructor that calls the base class constructor and passes the arguments. This is required for the view model to be properly initialized. Our constructor will look like this. Now that we have our constructor, we'll start overriding the methods. And the first override we're gonna do will be overriding the designer desired size property and return the default desired size of the control. In our case, the desired size will be 100 pixels width and 20 pixels height. Next, we're gonna override the getXAMLControlName method to return the name of the corresponding Silverlight control, in our case, the signal value output. So our method will look like this. It will return the signal value output just as planned. The next override will be for the getNamespaces method to return all the namespaces that our Silverlight control requires in order to run. As you can see here, we have the proper namespaces and the proper assembly. But this is not enough. We will also need to override the getRequiredAssemblies method to return all the assemblies that our Silverlight control requires. So we're going to return the WF core and the WF shared. And now our overrides are complete. We will start working on our properties, and the first property we'll need to add in our view model is the signal name property. As you can see, the signal name property will reside in the signals category of Smart Editor. The next property we'll need to add to our view model will be the border brush property, which will reside in the appearance category. Also, the border thickness property must be placed in our view model. The border thickness property will also be placed in the appearance category of a Smart Editor. And last but not least, we will have to deal with our format property, the one that we have added in our third video tutorial. Our format property will reside in the configuration category of Smart Editor. Now, the main reason for our properties to be in regions is because it's easy to collapse and to manage the code this way. So I'm gonna collapse all these regions, and we can focus on the last step for our view model, which is overriding the addXAML attributes and calling the addXAML attributes for each one of our properties. Probably you are wondering why the foreground and background properties are present in the addXAML attributes override method but not declared in the view model. Well, this is because the foreground and background properties are default in Smart Editor and don't need to be placed in the view model. Only the addXAML attributes method must be called for them. The addXAML attribute method will write the property values in the generated Silverlight application from Smart Editor. So our view model is complete. We're gonna move forward and start working on the control view. To create the control view, we're gonna right-click on the views folder and select Add New Item. And in here, we're gonna select WPF and Custom Control. We're gonna name our custom control Signal Value Output View. And I'm gonna click Add to confirm. Now, we can delete these comments from over here, but they may be useful, so you better read them before deleting them. Now, the first thing we need to do in our view custom control is to place the correct usings. And I'm gonna do this right now. The class is already public and the static constructor is already here. Now I'm gonna save this view, but before closing it, I want to make sure that the signal value output view class inherits the right class. In our case it doesn't, so I'm gonna make it inherit the common control class. Now we can save the view and close it. I will also close the signal value output view model, and I'm gonna open the themes folder and open the generic XAML. Now our generic XAML has auto-generated XAML inside. We're gonna get rid of this and we're gonna replace this generated XAML with our own XAML that we have defined in the first video tutorial when we were building our Silverlight control. But before this we have to make sure that the namespaces are correct. So I'm gonna add to the WPF custom control library namespace dot views. Now that our namespace is correct, we're gonna replace the style of the automatically generated XAML with our own XAML. So I'm gonna go back in our Silverlight control and copy the style from here and paste it in our generic XAML, replacing the old style. And as you can see, the target type local signal value output, it's not actually correct because in our WPF custom control library it should be pointing to our view class. So I'm gonna add over here view, and I'm gonna do the same for the target type of the control template. Now before closing our XAML file, we're gonna have to delete the template binding text over here and replace it with only binding. So I'm gonna delete the template before the binding, and I'm gonna replace the template binding with the right string over here. And now our XAML is complete. We can close it and we can move on creating the Control Serializer. Now it's time to create the Control Serializer. I'm gonna select the Serializer folder, right click and add a new class. And this class will be named Signal Value Output Serializer. So Signal Value Output Serializer, just like this. I'm gonna click Add to confirm, and this is our new serializer. So the first thing we need to do is replace the usings with the ones that really make use of our references over here. Now that we have our usings, we can move on and change the visibility of our class to public and make it inherit the common control serializer, which is the base class for serializing. Now, in our class, we're gonna add a private iUnity container. The implementation of the constructor will be made by passing the arguments to the base class constructor and also save the container parameters in the container field. So our constructor will look like this. Now that we have our constructor, we can start overriding the createNode method and return a new instance of the sample control view model. So the override method will look like this. As you can see, it returns the view model that we have over here. Also in the serializer, we will have to override the deserialize properties method in order to implement the control loading. So overriding the deserialize properties method will be made for each one of our properties, just like you see over here. And last but not least, we will have to override the serialize properties method in order to implement the control saving. As you can see here, overriding our serialize properties method will be made for each one of our properties. Now our serializer is complete and we can safely save and close the file. Now the next step in creating our Silverlight custom control is defining the control library module. This control library module should be added only once, but must be updated for every new control inside of this library. So add the new class called WPF Custom Control Library module in the root of the project, just like this. Now, in our new class, we're going to replace the usings with the correct ones, as you can see right over here, and we're going to change the visibility of our class to public. We will also make our class inherit the design control module. Next, we will implement the constructor and pass the arguments to the base class constructor. After the constructor implementation, we will override the register serializers method and register the previously created serializer from the serializers folder inside our custom control library. Now that our WPF custom control library module is complete, we're going to save it and safely close our file. Now that our custom control library is complete, it is time to build our solution. So I'm going to right click on our solution and select Build Solution. And as you can see, the build has succeeded, so we can now safely copy the DLLs into the right places. I'm going to right click on the solution and open the folder in Windows Explorer, and I'm going to navigate to the bin debug folder. Select the WPF Custom Control Library DLL, which we have just created when building our solution. I'm going to copy it, and we're going to have to paste it inside our Smart Editor folder from our WEBfactory installation folder. So in our Smart Editor, we're going to paste our Control DLL. But this is not enough. We will still need our Silverlight control, and for this, I'm going to go into the Documents, Visual Studio, Projects, Custom Control Library. In the bin debug folder, I'm going to find my Custom Control Library DLL, and I'm going to place it in the Silverlight 4 standard directory inside our WEBfactory installation folder. Now that we have our DLLs in the right places, we will have to edit a couple of things before starting Smart Editor. So in the Smart Editor folder, in the Mappings folder, we're gonna have to edit the control categories and control mappings. I'm gonna open control categories, and at the bottom of the file you will see the tag control category commented. Now this is an example tag. I'm gonna copy it and place it above so we can have a backup commented version. I'm going to uncomment this tag, and I'm going to replace the demo name with custom control, and this will be our Smart Editor category in Toolbox, and here in the custom control category we're going to find our custom control. So save the document, close it, and open the control mappings. In the control mappings, we're going to do just the same. We're going to copy the commented section, paste it above, uncomment it, and replace the control name, the category name, the assembly name, and the class name with the right ones. So in our case, the control name will be signal value output. Our category name will be custom control. Our assembly name will be WPF custom control library. And our class name will be WPF custom control library.views.signalValueOutput view. Because we will have to refer to our view class in order for this control to work inside Smart Editor. So we're gonna save this document too and close it and fire up Smart Editor. Now inside Smart Editor, I'm gonna create a new project to test our control, and if we scroll the toolbox right to the bottom, we're gonna see our custom control category, and inside our custom control category, the signal value output control. Well, this is the control we have been working on in the last 4 video tutorials. So it's time to see what our Smart Editor Custom Control can do. So we have our custom control here, and we have our properties just like we have defined them, the format property in the configuration category and the signal name property in the signals category. And I'm gonna select a signal name using the built-in signal browser. I'm gonna select setPoint2. I'm gonna select the format for this test to be currency with 3 decimals. Our control is built, and as you can see here, the control displays the 23 value in the currency format with 3 decimals. So I'm going to bring up the test center so we can have a complete certainty that our control really works. And I'm going to put the value 60 in the setPoint2 signal and press enter. And as you can see, our control responds appropriately by changing its value and displaying it in the right format. In the past 4 video tutorials, we have learned to create a Silverlight custom control, to add design time property browsers for expression blend, to add the format property and include the custom control in Smart Editor. Our control works at runtime and at design time, and this means only one thing, that we are at the end of our custom control development journey. See you next time!